At the worst, she was suicidal every single day. I was on suicide watch every single day.
Yeah.
Now,
You do say for like close to like 3 years.
4.5 years. Here I am. How do I tell my family that my child took an overdose of medication because she doesn't want to be alive?
Yeah.
How do I tell anyone? So for years I didn't tell anyone. So as a coping strategy, I would detach. Instead of being excited 2 or 3 days before the Cape Town trip, started having the heart palpitations, and I realized that I'm actually not thinking of just going to Cape Town. I'm thinking I actually can't do this.
Yeah.
I literally felt like I can't do the life business anymore.
Yeah.
I'm tired, I'm exhausted.
Welcome to an all-new episode of Looks and Wisdom Sundays with me, Oluchi B. Hey guys, and welcome to another exciting episode of Looks and Wisdom Sundays with me, Oluchi B, aka the elusive pundit. Honey, how are you feeling? How are you feeling, Vule?
Hello, I'm good.
I'm
Thanks for
good.
having me.
I'm just so happy you're here. So today we are joined by Vuledzani Dangale, and she is an author of these wonderful books. It's 3 of them, but I like giving my host the opportunity for them to introduce themselves. So I know Vule as author and mental health advocate. So what else do you do, Queen?
Sure. Other than being an author and a mental health advocate, I'm Mashudu's mom.
Yes.
I work in financial services. Have an amazing job that I absolutely love.
Okay, Queen, give us this information.
And I'm a student.
Yeah.
Always learning in life and academically as well. Currently pursuing my PhD, which
Yeah, you're
crossing my
already giving us
fingers.
pressure, honey. What do you mean?
No, I love learning. I love
Exactly.
learning.
I'm glad.
And yeah, that's me.
That's very beautiful. I love learning myself. Every time someone asks me to describe myself outside of a spirit having a human experience, I always say that I'm a student who loves to teach. So every time I'm getting something that I feel like I'm learning from, my first immediate thing is like, let's give it to the masses, like, let's get the information to the masses, which is what actually happened to us. So everybody knows May is a mental health awareness month, and every May I always do topics around mental health. And this year was the same for this channel. And I was like, what am I going to do? Who am I going to speak to? And all of these things. And behold, I was driving on a beautiful Saturday morning. I think I was going hiking somewhere. And you happened to be on the radio with your beautiful daughter, Mashudu. And I could not believe it. I was like, this is the woman I want to talk to. This is her on the radio right now. And I only picked up Gloria. And I went on the internet search looking for Gloria everywhere, and I couldn't find Gloria. And I met you like 3, 4 weeks after at the Constitutional Hill when you went there to go sell these wonderful books. And I was literally talking to my other acquaintance, Joy, and I was telling her about how was listening to the radio, and I was listening to this woman, and I wanted to speak to her. And guess who was that woman standing next to us?
That was crazy. That was
I know, insane.
destiny, or because I heard you talking to Joey.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, there was this lady on Metro FM talking about mental health. And like, that was me.
I love telling everybody this story. Telling everybody this story. That was beautiful.
That was beautiful.
And it was caught on camera. If you guys do check my March vlog, she is there. And literally the conversation starts there when you're like, it's me. It's me. So I'm very grateful to have you here today. We are going to be speaking all things mental health. And the reason why I wanted to have you on the show, because your story is twofold. You have written these books inspired by your journey with your daughter, Mashudu, who has mental health issues. Should I say issues?
So usually, because I've also had to research, it's
Yeah.
either mental health issues or mental health disorders.
Yeah.
I
I
don't.
never want to give people like something that indicates it to be a
Yeah,
disease. And I was
exactly.
like, what do
So
mental health
issues is a
issues?
lighter,
Yes, yes.
more socially
I guess,
acceptable.
I
I
guess,
think.
I
Yeah.
guess. And so your daughter and yours' journey is one that is very interesting to me, and you're gonna tell us about that later on. But before we get to your story and your daughter's story around your mental health journeys, do you mind just taking us through these different books and telling us the main
Yes.
difference between all of them? I think we can. Which one is the first one you wrote?
The Parents Guide, the
The Parents
brown
Guide.
one.
This is the first one you started.
So that's Navigating the Storm, a
Yes.
parent's guide through mental health
Uh-huh.
challenges. That is more for parents. I talk about my journey as a parent,
Yeah.
how, and I'll share later on
Yes, yes.
how I sort of overlooked some of the symptoms that were there. And later on, they say when you know better, you do better.
Mm-hmm.
So it was now about putting together all the resources that I wish I had.
Yeah.
Because at the time that we were going through, or at the time that we're navigating the storm,
Yeah.
I could not find resources, and therefore I've put resources in there
Yeah.
for parents.
Exactly.
If you're a parent, you want to advocate for your child at school, how do you do that?
Yeah.
If you want to get your family involved, how do you do that? And how do we get the communities around us
Yeah.
also to support us through that journey?
This is a great book, and it's got 96 pages only.
Yeah.
And then this is the second one that you did, right?
That's for my teens, adolescents, and teens. So in that book, you'll see it's pocket size,
Yeah.
short, sweet, direct to the point. I basically put in all the tools that I wish my daughter had.
Yeah.
In a in a nice story.
Yeah.
So that's
It's very clinical. The story
it
is
is
very
very
clinical.
clinical.
Very, very
Yeah.
clinical.
If I can say, I was very deliberate about the words that I use because I could have tried to make it longer.
Yeah.
But I thought the individuals who are going to read the book, chances are they're not avid readers like you
And
and
they want
I.
to be on
They
TikTok
just
all
want
day.
to, exactly. So you want to make sure that you go to the page. If you want to know what do I do at school, you go to the page and read about it and you can put it down. And I've actually put it in shorter sections where now we're talking about advocating for yourself at school.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk about and move on to the next chapter. So that was very deliberate.
Yeah. This is a very nice, to the point book. I really like how simply written it is. And then this one, Mashudi's Magical Powers.
So Mashudu's magical superpowers, I wrote it for the 7-year-old Mashudu. And you'll understand when I share our story shortly.
Yeah.
It's also available, it's translated. Currently, it's available in 9 South African languages.
Yes, I
So
chose the English one because
I wanted to make sure that we also bridge the cultural barriers and the language barriers. Hence, it is available in 9 languages. And it's a nice illustrated children's book where I'm introducing the discussion about mental health, but in a child appropriate manner. We don't use the words depression or anxiety. Instead, we use sadness. Does a child understand what sadness is? Yes. And it has some nice illustrations. I just want to give
shout out
Rory sang my
out.
money, did the illustrations.
Okay, Rory, you
and
killed
also
it.
published all the books. So now in total, including the translated, we have 11 books that we're distributing.
And this was only done last year.
This was all done between last year. The translations that were done early this year. So you'll say in less than a year.
Yeah. Oh,
less than a
wow.
year.
I'm so proud of you. And I'm so
Thank
proud of
you.
you for doing this, because I don't even want to lie. I have never heard of any other author, maybe they do exist, but a Black one with a Black child that's navigating mental health issues together, that's so open about it, that was compelled to share their story, which is why I don't believe none of our stories are in vain, because that can help my future children. That can help me, my nieces, my family, and everybody else. Because I just feel like we come to this world with issues, and then we try to navigate our world. And I don't think mental health issues belong to people with who are diagnosed with mental health issues. I think it belongs to all of us. Because even if you're not suffering from mental health, someone you know might be.
And thank you for saying that. The reason I ended up writing and publishing is because I could not find any tools or resources where people are talking about mental health in South Africa. I went on YouTube, I could find Americans. Most of them were not people who looked like me.
Exactly.
And I felt compelled because we can't be the only people going through. My daughter and I can't be the only people
That's
going through
true.
this.
That's true. That's true.
So for
That is
me,
true.
I wanted to make sure that we create awareness, we destigmatize it.
Yes.
But I thought, how am I going to do it? It was terrifying, by the way, to actually put it in the books.
Yeah.
Because it has been a dirty little secret.
Yeah.
And putting it in the books and putting it out there, I was afraid of being judged. I was afraid that my family might feel like we're putting our dirty laundry out there.
Yeah.
I was afraid of the stigma.
Yeah.
So even to date, even though the books are out there, that is still a fear for me, because once you put yourself out there like we have, it's people can use it however way that they want to use it. But our intention, and I just love how Mashudu has been so encouraging through this journey. She keeps saying, "Mommy, I'm so proud of you for doing this. It's going to help a lot of people. You're doing a great job." So for us, it's about creating awareness. It's about educating, and I needed to also make sure that parents who look like me can see themselves in us.
Exactly.
And then it won't be such a foreign topic to talk about.
You did say the first day I met you, you were like, we need to find language in our own indigenous languages to explain this, so that the children can have information from a very young age.
So, for example, I don't know what anxiety is in Chivenda.
Oh, okay.
Depression, you might have the words, but usually it's uyahlanya or ukopenga. But actually it's not. So we actually don't have mental health literacy or words that we can use that are also constructive. So due to lack of mental health literacy, the words that we're sort of making up along the way are filled with stigma. And I would really like to challenge people in education, arts and culture. I think while we are, and young people are coming up with, nice words like the rees and, all this in stuff.
We need to find words, exactly.
We need to find words that do not stigmatize mental health.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking all things mental health, and we are so grateful today to have Vule, and she's going to be talking to us about her story and her daughter's stories navigating and working through mental health issues. So, where does your story begin with mental health?
Yeah, so I'm going to start at the age of 7, when my daughter was 7, and go back and maybe just touch on a couple of things that I think probably I probably missed. Okay. When my daughter was 9, actually, one day she, mentioned to me, she was not throwing a tantrum or anything like that. She mentioned in passing that, "Mommy, I tried to take my own life." And she explained, because I asked when. And when she described it, I'm like, oh my goodness, she was 7 years old. And I tried to ask her, so, but why? She was trying to explain to me, but it's like feelings and emotions and just how overwhelming and painful, she felt. And to me, I mean, I'm a black parent. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, seriously? Do you want attention?
Yeah.
Is that what you actually want? And I mean, at the time, I did take it to a psychologist. But when I started reflecting at that time, I was like, hold on, what did I miss? I went back. Firstly, she was born premature. I was only due in Feb.
Yeah.
She was born on the 2nd of January. She was a big baby, 4.2 kilos at Prem. And when she was growing up, and I shared this in Navigating the Storm, she did not crawl. And I was concerned that, her development was delayed.
Yeah.
She did not crawl, and then one day she got up and started walking. And because she did not crawl, she didn't know how to sit down.
COVID baby.
Yeah, like
it's giving COVID tendencies.
Exactly. But I thought, it happens.
And I mean, this is your first child, by
This
the way.
is my first and only
And
child.
sitting at 25.
Exactly. I'm 25 at this point. And then her speech was delayed. And I remember we even took her to an audiologist thinking maybe she has hearing problem. And they said, no, she's perfectly fine. And took her to creche when she was 4. And they advised us to speak to her in one language. So at the time, my ex-husband and I, Reba Venda, we speak Chivenda.
Yeah.
Her nanny.
Hey, do we say Nda though?
We say
Sorry,
feminine.
McG and family.
Feminine. So we are Venda, her nanny was Sutu, and at school they speak English. So we decided, okay, let's speak to her in English so that it will make it easier for her at school. And she managed to catch on like really, really fast. And I think after that, everything seemed normal. But I noticed whenever she would get frustrated, especially around the time when she was struggling with her speech, her veins on her forehead, it will pop. So I thought about the cartoon Stressed Eric, where, the vein will, come out and start strangling Stressed Eric. So I'll like laugh, but at the same time I'm thinking, geez, girl, you have a rage problem. Like, what's going on? But again, I didn't really take it seriously. So now at the age of 9, when she's telling me this, I'm like, oh, what did I miss something? But at the time, I hated labels. So at the time I thought, you know what, maybe she'll just outgrow it. She's a child. And fast forward to the age of 12, hitting puberty. I don't know what switch went off or what switch went on. Because now she's depressed. She doesn't want to go to school. She doesn't want to do anything. She'll sit in a room. She wants to close the curtains. And I can see that something is wrong. But I don't know what's wrong. And I think I was also not ready to actually acknowledge that something is wrong. Because if I admit that something is wrong, then I need to figure out why is something wrong. And so I just buried my head in the sand. And through that period, she actually attempted suicide. And
was it the first time after when she told you at 9
well,
o'clock
the first time I knew about. Because what I also realized is the other times I did not know. Like self-harm was also going on. I had no idea. I had zero clue that it was happening. But now she ends up in hospital. Went to a psychiatric hospital. I'll remember the name, Podview Clinic. And what was really great about that is that we had a psychologist, we had a psychiatrist, we had a social worker working together to try and figure out what's going on. And that was the first time we also had medical diagnosis, which also included, that she's on the spectrum, but more high functioning. suffered from depression and bipolar, etc. And I was relieved, and I'll tell you why. Because I felt like for the first time I had a name to
What was going
this
on?
behavior that I'm seeing that I cannot explain.
Yeah.
And now that I had the name, I went and researched. I read a lot. That's when I started looking for tools. I wanted to know, where are the other parents like me?
Yeah.
Where are the other kids like her? So that maybe if she meets another child who's going through the same, she won't feel like she's the only one.
Yeah.
Because she really felt like she was the only child. Every other child is normal, and I'm not normal. So what's wrong with me?
Exactly.
And why is it that I'm depressed? And why can I not make it go away? And by this point, she's on medication. And why is it that the medication is not working? Why doesn't it cure the depression? And I'm also feeling like, why is she taking medication and she's not getting better? Like, we need to fix this. Now, I'm a fixer by nature.
Yep.
I'm a fixer.
You in
If there's a
finance.
problem, I need to fix it. And I could not fix it. And there's nothing more devastating
It's also frustrating.
than when your child is not well and you've tried everything
Yeah.
and it's not working. I've been told, change your diet, become vegan,
Yeah.
pray, go consult a traditional healer. Maybe she's gifted. We went through all of that.
Yeah.
And at the worst, she was suicidal every single day. I was on suicide watch every single day.
Yeah.
Now,
You do say for like close to like 3 years.
4.5 years.
4.5. Oh my God.
Now, medical aid, for those on medical aid, is actually a sad story. You get 21 days in hospital. If I'm not mistaken, outpatient, 19 days. Now, if your child take an overdose to unalive themselves, you take them to hospital.
Yes.
She's still not well after the 21 days. And they call it a case manager, on the medical aid, basically said, sorry, you've exceeded your benefit. And at that time, she was now going through ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, because she was not responding to medication.
Yeah.
And usually you need to have, the psychiatrist said you needed to have between 9 and 12 sessions to actually start seeing the results. And now I could see that, there's a calmness. So, there was positive outcome from the 4 sessions that she had. But on her 4th session, she had to be discharged the same day because that was the last day of the 21 days. So I had to take my daughter home.
Wow.
She was still drowsy because they put you under for them to do ECT. She was like literally still drowsy from the anesthesia, and I had to take her home. So here's the problem. I'm bringing her home. I have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
No one is telling me, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do. Things like, she is hypersensitive, so the lighting, for example, the noise, taste. So her sensory system is just super sensitive and can easily be overloaded. Nobody tells you that. Where did I find out? I had to learn. I had to go on YouTube. I had to buy books, to educate myself. And here I'm going through 24 hours suicide watch. I must still wake up and go to work.
Yeah.
At the time, I hired a full-time nanny. That's literally what I called her, because I needed someone to help me to look after her when I'm at work. I took her out of school. So, and put her in online school because she was not coping at normal school. That's another thing. Our schools and teachers, they're not trained to look after a neurodivergent child.
Heavy on that.
And they don't know how to, and they also don't know what's going on with the child. They think the child is spoiled. So, for example, my daughter, when she was overwhelmed, she would cry.
Yeah.
And there's one teacher, and she was her favorite teacher. She called her a crybaby.
Oh, wow.
Now, that was heartbreaking. I don't think the teacher realized how heartbreaking it was for her to hear that from her teacher.
And the impact that it will have
And the
on
impact
her mental health, that she's already having issues.
that she's already having issues. So, leaving her in mainstream school was not an option.
Yeah.
And now she's attending online school. She's isolated, and that's another thing with online school.
Yeah.
She did not have physical contact with other children to also help her with the social skills, because being on the spectrum, the social skills are not there. Whenever we're around family, they think she's just a spoiled child. It's because she's the only child, because she gets overwhelmed, sensory overload, a lot of people, social skills not there. So it was a lot. I think we went through 4.5 years of hiding, because I didn't tell anyone. I was ashamed. I thought it was a reflection on me as a parent, on my parenting, and also the guilt of, why didn't I pick it up sooner? Because maybe we might have been able to have it better managed
or mitigated.
Exactly. It is true that with mental health, early intervention do help.
Yeah.
And I think learning that, I felt that, if only I knew sooner, maybe we might have had other interventions that might have worked, as opposed to now just going full on medication and ECT.
Yeah.
And this, go ahead.
Yeah. I wanted to, just before we move on with this conversation, so at 9 years old, you found out that she had attempted suicide 2 years earlier. And then at 12 years old, then you get involved. And then that's when the process where you were talking about taking her through the psychologist and psychiatrist and all of that. I just wanted to find out what was going on between 9 and sort of like 12. What were you doing to help, especially after she admitted that she had tried to unalive?
I buried my head in the sand.
Yeah.
I really was not ready for it, because I'd never heard of children
having mental challenges.
Having mental health challenges, or children being depressed.
Yeah.
So for me, I think I just buried my head in the sand and hoped that it was just a phase and should outgrow it. And, with good diet, she'll be okay. We tried going to the gym, trying to get her to be physically active. And so, I honestly did not take it as seriously as I should have. Because I thought, it will, I don't know, solve itself in time. And I think that's why I also decided to write the books, because I think as parents, we do, and I'll refer to Joey Dlamini's book,
Yes,
The Mother Knows. A Mother Knows.
I wanted to have
shout
it
out
here
Joey.
to plug Joey. We will plug the girl, because
Guys, it's true.
the
A
early
mother
development-
knows.
A mother knows.
You might choose to ignore it, but you have those moments where you're like, I think, but so I think I had moments where I would feel like, okay, maybe I should be doing something.
Yeah.
But what am I going to do? Because there isn't enough information that's out there.
Exactly.
So I think I also, they say when there's trauma, for example, it's either fight, flight, or freeze.
Yeah.
My brain will go into freeze, because I would look for information, I would not find it, and then I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go.
Was it also because you didn't want to be like a failure of a mom?
Yeah.
Because even though you are even looking for direction and information on how to deal with this, and it's not there, and you're like, oh, but I don't want to fail as a mother, so it's better that you act like it doesn't exist.
Now, remember at this point, I'm divorced. I'm already feeling like a failure in life as it
Oh,
is.
queen.
And secondly, I vowed that I don't want the divorce to affect my daughter. And now it looks like, like,
Divorce is affecting you.
is it the divorce?
Yeah.
And if it is, I don't want the guilt of, maybe I damaged my child by deciding to walk away from, from the marriage at the time. So yes, I definitely did think of all of that, and I thought admitting that there's a problem, maybe the other partner will say, "Yeah, you see, it's because you left," type of thing. So I think there was also the ego
Exactly.
there, because I'm like, no, 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 I need to show that I can make it on my
You are
own,
capable.
and
Strong, independent
we
black
are
woman.
going to we're going to get through this, and we are going to thrive. So I think it's a lot of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. And I just wanted to find out, obviously, you were in marriage, and then you do speak about the early development challenges around the speech and around walking and her being a premature. Were there any remnants earlier on when you were still in a marriage that you could pick up? Or did it only happen when you were looking retrospectively around the early development challenges?
I think actually being married helped me to be more ignorant, because it was easier having a partner, and he was really a great and hands-on dad, that I think he sort of helped to mask those symptoms where I could ignore it and rather focus on other things going on in the relationship. So both positively and negatively, I think, I could. There were other issues to deal with, and therefore, somehow in the mix of all of that, it was not a priority. I am, it's sad to say it now, but I think now that it was just the two of us, I could no longer ignore it. I could not focus on the other matters, because they're not there. So it's facing me and facing me straight in my eyes. So I could not run away.
Okay. And then we get now to the phase where you guys are sitting in awareness of the mental health challenges that she's got. Was it quickly move to a doctor and then quickly move into medication? Or were there other ways in which you guys tried to look to solve the problem? Because I know other people would be like, oh, yeah, let me look at like dealing with this holistically and not actually get help where it's like chemicals involved.
Yeah. You know what, the decision of going, of taking medication is not an easy one. And I talk about it in both the parents guide and also the teen book, because and understand, I'll tell you why. Before medication, and please, I'm not saying this to discourage anyone. I think it's important that we understand that for every person struggling with mental illness, there are at different stages of the mental illness. And that's why early intervention is very important. Because sometimes when you're able to get early intervention, you can use psychotherapy, you can find homeopathic ways, and just lifestyle ways of helping you to manage it. But please understand, and I'll use the analogy of diabetes. There are people who, when they're diagnosed with diabetes, they can still manage it with a good diet, a healthy diet,
Soda
exercise, and soda water,
right? I believe in soda water, guys, so much. I believe I will never get sugar diabetes because I drink soda water.
So that's you're at that sometimes you're at that level where changing your lifestyle can actually work. But you also have a stage where you can change your lifestyle all you want. the numbers don't budge, they don't move,
Yeah.
and therefore you need to be on medication. And you also have the extreme where even the tablets are not working now, you need insulin injection, as an example. I found that the same with mental health. So by the time, 12 years and above, by the time we now get the diagnosis,
Yes.
she has the ideation to unalive herself every single day.
Yeah.
Now, I don't have the luxury of saying, let's try a vegan diet for 3 months, because we might not make it to tomorrow. I did not have the luxury of, let's try some homeopathic medication. It really, when I say it was literally a choice between life and death.
It really
For us, it was. And once we went on medication, I shared that she was unresponsive. For years, she was not responsive to medication. So what ended up happening is the dosage, every 6 months, we keep increasing the dosage to a point where literally my daughter looked like a walking vegetable.
Oh.
It was heartbreaking to see that. And I would sit there, look at it, and I'm like, okay, what's the alternative? It's either she is heavily sedated for her to stay alive or to not be. And I'm basically playing a game of chess and hoping that tomorrow she wakes up.
Yeah.
And hence I say, yes, it did change her, altered her mood. It's They are mood stabilizers, lithium, and I mean, these are really strong medication. And at this time, she's still going to school. So her school took a knock.
Yeah.
She went from being in the top 5 or top 10 to barely passing. It went from getting 90 plus in maths to celebrating 40% in maths.
Just like us varsity students, and if you get to the other side with a 40.00, you're like, Jesus,
Exactly.
you are alive.
And I absolutely understand I don't want to call it the stigma, the concern that parents have around taking medication. But like I said, there's a spectrum. Yes, if you get early intervention, sometimes you will still need to get medication. But I think every person, they need to make the decision for themselves. And also what worked for me might not work for you. Because, for different people, you're treating different symptoms or different behavioral symptoms, as an example. But medical professionals have studied and continue to educate themselves on how to best treat mental health.
That's very important. And I wanted to ask, and I'm asking this for any parent that's watching this at home and has a child, you do write extensively on this book and on this book around some of the symptoms that you witnessed and saw for yourself in your child. Do you want to take us to some of the symptoms that parents can look out for in terms of?
Yeah. The main one for me was how she just lost interest in everything. The things that she used to enjoy, she didn't enjoy them anymore. She didn't want to go out. She didn't want to meet friends. She didn't even want people to come over to our home. That was one. And secondly, just wanting to stay in a room. I think what I also made as a mistake was then also getting a TV in her room.
Oh.
Okay. Because that also meant mental overstimulation. I thought, at least if she's going to be in a room, let me get a TV in a room, so that she can still find things that are entertaining. You see, every parent knows their child, and I'll go back to Joey, and a mother knows. Joey, thank you.
Mother knows.
Because I could see life just leaving her, that once, she was never a bubbly child, but I could see just the change in her. It's like even it looked like oxygen was not flowing to the brain. Because even a skin tone, was changing. But in terms of behavior, it's just, she just did not want to do anything. She didn't want to wake up. She would sleep for like, 12, 14 hours. She would not bath. No, she would not like me to say that, but she would not. And I think for people who suffer with depression, that's one of the things. Just not wanting to get up, not wanting to bath. Like she had zero energy to do anything. And eating, she ate because she had to. But most of the time she just slept and didn't want to wake up, didn't want to do anything. And keeping the curtains closed because she doesn't want the light. Those are,
some of the stuff that you went through. And I wanted to just talk about, because on this book you simplify things in terms of emotion. People feel sad.
Yes.
You feel extremely sad. And I wanted to just get, because people might say that, oh, but if you feel sad, then you can get yourself out of that sadness. But you do speak about the fact that there is like depression, and then there is depression that's informed by a chemical imbalance.
Okay, the example that comes to mind that I actually had saw a video on YouTube today that described it. I think it's probably X-rated for kids, and there might be kids who are sort of watching the show. And I guess someone who's gone through depression can explain this better. It's and this is how she described it as well. And so many times she tried to explain it to me. At the time, I'm like, come on. I mean, surely you can snap out of it. Like, okay, get up, let's go walk outside, let's go to the mall, let's do something. For her, she described it as not having energy to do anything but to breathe. There was zero energy left for anything else. In fact, at the worst, she said, I don't even have energy to breathe. I don't have energy to exist. Let alone breathe. You talk about getting out of bed. I don't even have the energy to get out of bed.
Exactly.
I don't have the energy to eat. So that's basically, probably the easiest explanation I can make. And for someone, I mean, I am that person who, even when I'm down, I have the toxic positivity. Like I will allow, this is how I put it. I'm like, listen,
positivity.
yes, I will allow myself to go to the basement or the dungeon. I will allow myself to feel sorry for myself. I'll give myself an hour or a day at the most and wallow in what I call self-pity. But we are only renting. We're not, signing a mortgage to actually stay in the dungeon. And that's how I convince myself, like, okay, we've stayed here long enough. Now we need to get out of it. And, for myself, I'll tell myself, okay, one step at a time, get out of bed, make the bed, go and make yourself a cup of coffee, etc. Those are the simple things. It's easy for me because my brain can process what I'm trying to do. But for someone who doesn't even have enough dopamine to actually do that, please understand it's an impossible task.
No, I definitely know. That's just a very important analogy of what depression is, because it exactly is that.
And the other aspect which I would really like parents to be aware of is we gaslight our children.
Heavy on it.
Your child is telling you, I'm not okay. And you tell them, oh, no, you're fine. You'll get over it.
Exactly.
So you don't even acknowledge that, yes, there's a problem. So our kids, what they've now learned, they go and self-harm themselves. And because depression, you cannot physically see it. And so when you gaslight them, they know that I'm not feeling okay, but clearly there are no visible signs that I'm not okay. So I need to find a way to get it out of my system,
exactly.
or I need a way for me to visibly see. And that's where sometimes you see the self-harm, the cutting,
That's exactly the drugs and
the
the
drugs,
self-cutting.
because we gaslight them and they start thinking, okay, so clearly there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm crazy because I keep saying I'm not okay. Nobody believes me. Have you noticed a lot of kids who are struggling with mental illness? They do say that, but my parents don't believe me, or nobody believes me, because we don't see it, but they are feeling it. It's manifesting itself in their body. Yes, you don't see a physical bruise, but that doesn't mean there's no chemical imbalance.
That's true. That's true. I actually know that for a fact because I think I can't remember what time space I was depressed, and it was so overwhelming in my head that my head started feeling hot. It felt like you could see smoke. And then I was like, then I knew for a fact that self-harm was the next thing, because even for yourself, you're like, I'm crazy, but I think the crazy would be better if it was like physically manifested.
Mashudu started a blog when she was 14, when things were really crazy. It's called Being Mashudu, so original.
I'll link it, don't worry.
And she talks about self-harm, and how she describes it is, she says it's addictive. And now I actually understand. It's like smoking. The first time you do it and you feel a release, next time you feel overwhelmed with emotions, what are you going to think about? Oh yeah, last time this is what I did, and it actually, I felt better. So she talks about self-harm as something that over time it becomes addictive, because you're overwhelmed with emotions and nobody believes you, and you want a way, an outlet, and therefore you start self-harming, and now it becomes your way of coping. And that's something that I think for parents it's important to.
And I want to add this for everybody. If then self-harm becomes your coping mechanism, which then becomes your addiction, it's going to be your default setting for solving your problems. Which is why everybody and their mama who's been a drug addict will tell you that they will forever be recovering, because that's always going to be a default setting.
So the same with self-harm. And I think it's important for parents to understand that, because there's an expectation that, once I talk to my child and tell them to stop it, then they should stop it because I told them so.
Exactly.
Has an alcoholic ever stopped being an alcoholic because you told them to stop it?
Never.
I mean, they'll even drag the family through the mud for them to get that.
Exactly.
Why would you think it's different with any addiction? Because literally, when I read a blog where she said it's an addiction, I was blown away that a 14-year-old actually figured out that self-harming is. And then when it no longer gives you the release that it used to give you, then what's next?
Wow. Okay. And I just wanted to speak about anxiety, because I was the anxiety chick, like literally. And I liked how in this book you have simplified it for the child as a teenager, being scared to hand your assignment in, being scared to show up to class. Like such normal things that everybody's like, why are you scared to go to class? Why are you scared to submit an assignment? Why are you panicking in an exam thinking you... And sometimes you know what's next, but the anxiety still stays, because anxiety will anxiety when it wants to anxiety.
So a way someone explained depression and anxiety to me like this. They said depression is you living in the past, anxiety is you living in the future.
I can believe that about myself.
And with anxiety, you actually, geez, most of us are actually walking around with an. I have social anxiety, but I'm so bubbly that people don't realize that sometimes I am bubbly because I'm trying to hide the anxiety. I remember at school, there'll be those kids who don't want to stand up and read. Like will start sweating,
Yeah.
and some will faint, etc. I think for most kids actually struggle with anxiety. Adults, we're talking about kids.
We're talking about kids. I'm an adult and I didn't know I had anxiety until I started my healing in 2018.
Yes. And maybe, one day in future, let's talk about mental health in adults.
We're going to talk about
Because
that when we
we're
come back
working
after,
around with it.
after
We
August.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So absolutely, yeah.
And I just wanted to, in terms of anxiety, anxiety is as simple as you not wanting to get out of the door because
Yes.
your mom is talking to someone in the couch.
Yes.
And you're overthinking the whole thing. Now you have to say hi. Now you might be
Yes.
asked to get coffee for this person. It really sits in that future thing. And it was like, anxiety is such a dumb thing to me, but I know I have anxiety. And I know it's going to happen again tomorrow.
Here's the funny one. Cooking gives me anxiety. Like if I have to cook for people,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, all of a sudden it's like, I can't cook. What am I going to cook? Will they like it? What if it's so horrible?
Yeah.
So because of that, I hate entertaining, except my family because they're easy. So it's
Yeah.
like, listen, we'll just whip together pap and some dried meat and that's it. Like even making gravy makes me feel anxious because it's like all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, what should I put in it? Should I put raja and, should it be chakalaka or, and how do I make it? Like
Exactly.
cooking gives me anxiety. And I just want to demonstrate that actually even the easiest things,
Exactly.
anxiety doesn't have to be because you need to do something so complex.
Exactly. And that's exactly what anxiety is.
Yes.
And I mean, we can cope and survive with it because you have a corporate career that requires you to be
Yeah.
and I mean, I had a corporate career where I was dealing with a lot of people all the time. And I was like, why do I have a job where I have to deal with people all the time when I know I have anxiety of like a group context thing? So I just wanted to put it very lightly that anxiety doesn't have to be, your child could be just scared to get out of the room.
Yeah.
And that would be like the anxiety point, and they will sit on it forever and it graduates, it just keeps growing.
And what I want to highlight there is that's why it's important for us to get the diagnosis or at least to know
Exactly.
what is it that you are going through or living with.
Exactly.
Because then you're able to have the tools to help you. So now that I know that I have social anxiety, I know how to overcome it because I can't run away from people, right? Yes, with things like family gatherings, I stay away. I know, I know my uncles and aunts and everyone will probably watch this, but I stay away because I'm like it gives me anxiety now. So the power in knowing and understanding what your challenges are is there's actually help. There are interventions. You can find tools to basically help you. I.e., and something I want to raise, it's very important, the same way that we have family GPs as an example. Can we please normalize having family therapists?
Exactly.
And because that also, and for me, if I knew what I know now, I would make sure that my child knows what a psychologist is at a young age, and that's why Machidu's Magical Superpowers, I introduced Dr. Hope, who is a psychologist.
Dr. Hope is also in this book, by the way. She's working harder than before.
No, she is. She is. We carried the same message across all the books. And the reason why that's important, sometimes your kids don't want to talk to you as the parent. Because they feel like you're not hearing me.
Exactly.
You're not listening. And if they are able to go to a therapist, at least there is someone who has the best intention for your child, who your child can sit with and actually get the help that they need. And therefore, the same way that if your child has flu, you might try to self-medicate for a day or two. If you see that the flu is not getting better, what do? You take them to a doctor where they might be put on antibiotics. So the same way, if you see that your child's behavior, something is not okay.
Yeah.
And it's day 2, it's day 3. Please don't wait for day 5.
Yeah.
At least make sure that your child knows that there is Dr. Hope.
Yeah.
Let's set up an appointment with Dr. Hope. You can talk to Dr. Hope. He or she will not tell me whatever you discuss.
Yeah.
And normalize it for your kids to actually know that there is help.
I like that. I like that. I just thought about the escalation because at work you have an escalation. If you speak to this person,
Absolutely.
hello, I'm moving to the next person. If this person, I'm moving to the next person. So definitely that would work. That's a great thing.
The biggest mistake that we make as parents is to think that we have the answers to everything. There's a reason why we have medical professionals.
Yeah.
And I understand sometimes
Professionals in general. I am
medical
the queen
professionals.
You need to go to the
exactly.
expert. You can't, not every Tom,
Can't
Dick,
do
and Harry.
everything.
That's exactly why I'm talking to you. That was the basis for my channel. It's like, I need to speak to the experts. I don't know all the
Absolutely.
information.
So even as parents, we need to acknowledge that we don't have the answers to everything.
Yeah.
And your child may not want to talk to you. Don't take offense.
Exactly.
It really is not to say that you as a parent, you have failed.
Yeah.
And therefore create the right channels where your child will know that. And that's why it's also nice to have uncles and aunties
yeah.
who your child knows that, listen, oof, I don't want to tell my mom or my dad about this. They might lose it. Let me
Yeah.
go talk to my uncle.
Exactly.
As an example. Let's also normalize the same when it comes to mental health.
Yes.
Where the same way that you have a GP, have a psychologist where your child might be going through something and they really don't want to talk to anyone in the family. If they know that, listen, mommy, daddy, I'm not okay, I'd like an appointment with Dr. Hope.
Yeah.
And you make an appointment with Dr. Hope. And if you start that at a younger age, like we're talking about in Mashudu's Magical Superpowers, then you have children who are growing up with emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And they also, through the strategies that psychologists help them with through psychotherapy, as an example, they also learn how to regulate their own emotions.
Yes.
And we talk about emotional intelligence, but often we talk about that in adults or in corporate, as an example. You don't just become an adult and have emotional intelligence. It starts from a young age.
Exactly.
And let's be honest with ourselves, most of us were also raised by parents who didn't have emotional intelligence. So to me, it's acknowledging the fact that as parents, we cannot be everything to everyone. And also it's, you have nothing to lose for your child to grow up knowing of all these resources that are available around them to support them, so that if it does happen one day that they, something happens and they don't know how you're going to react, they know that they can go and talk to a medical professional and get the help that they need. Let's normalize that.
Exactly. Heavy on that. And I think you do touch on it a little bit in your book about the importance of that structure. Speak to the family, have them understand, and have them also as a resource. A village. When, as Africans, are we going to go to what we know that it takes a village?
It takes a village.
When are we going to go back to that? Because it really does take a village.
Not only to raise a child, but for us as adults.
For us as adults as well.
That's why we have our friends, because sometimes your friends become your sanity.
Exactly.
Similarly with our kids, and just life in general, you're not going to make it alone. I mean, I tried to do it alone, and it did not work out well. At some point, I had to get my family involved. Tell them what's actually happening. Tell them how it affected me. And also, sometimes people don't know how to support you. We always, you have this thing where people are like, oh yeah, if you need any help, please tell me. So I didn't know what help to ask for. So in Navigating the Storm and also in the teen book, I talk about what type of help can you actually extend to your family member or your friend who might be going through a challenging time, not only mental health. So for example, I would have appreciated for someone to go and do shopping for me.
Yeah.
I mean, when we were going through this, it was before Checkers 60,
Yeah.
right? Now, yes, you can quickly order and your order comes to your door.
Yeah.
But back then, the type of help I needed was someone doing my shopping for me.
Yeah.
It was someone coming and staying with my child while I go to a mall, a shopping, because I couldn't leave the house. I was on 24-hour
Suicide
watch.
watch, yeah.
We're not using the S word.
Oh, thank
I was on 24-hour watch. So, you know, how you help someone is listen. And this is also for like parents with kids who are autistic.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Exactly.
So just you
Just
going
like-
there for 2 hours and let the parent go and have their nails done,
Yeah.
or go to a salon, or just let them go to a restaurant and have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know, those are some of the things that I would have appreciated
Exactly.
for someone to book a 2-night stay
Away from
at a
home.
hotel
Exactly.
where I can just shut down and not be on high alert and just relax.
Yeah.
So in the books, those are, you know, some of the
tools.
practical
Yeah.
examples of, you know, how do you actually help with the teachers at school.
Yeah.
I did not know how to advocate for my child. Now you could ask the school that, you know, if there's a test, is it possible that they give your child an extra
yeah.
15 minutes
Yeah.
or 30 minutes? Because usually with anxiety, the first 30 minutes, they're trying to, you know, sort of gather themselves. By the time they start writing, it's over.
Yeah.
So that's why even at varsities, they want to know if you have any condition that may necessitate that you're given additional time.
Yeah.
And this is important for the parents to say, disclosing such information does not mean that, you know, you are disabling your child. It just means that you're advocating for your child, for your child to have the support that they actually need.
Okay.
And that's how you actually advocate for yourself and for your child, because in some instances it's us advocating for ourselves so that other people can extend grace and, you know, give us the opportunity to show up.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, she wrote these 3 books. There's more information here. It's like practical books that you can actually like. I took like 30 minutes reading this one.
Yeah.
This one's an hour. This one's a children's book that you can read with your children at night to get them to understand and get that emotional intelligence going. Because when we were talking now, I think both of us agree that life is always gonna life. What we are trying to do is give people tools that they can use to mitigate so that they can live a normal life in spite and despite the challenges that they face.
When you know better,
you do better.
Absolutely.
Okay, Queen. Literally, we've spoken everything mental health, and the more we speak about mental health for teenagers and young adults, the more we realize that mental health is mental health across board.
It's across
and
the
you
board.
need all these support systems and all these structures. You've been through a lot yourself as a person. If you look at Mashudu is now 20, 19?
19.
She's 19 now. You've been on this journey with her since she was around 9 years old. That's 10 years of you going through this. And you
Yeah.
do speak about 4.5 years of 24/7
Watch. Yeah.
How did that affect you as a person and your own mental health?
Yeah, that's sure. There isn't enough grace that's extended to parents,
Yeah.
to mothers.
Yeah.
I share a little bit about that in Navigating the Storm, specifically chapter 5.
Yeah.
I found it very difficult to edit that book. The last time I edited, I took out a lot.
Yeah.
Because every time I had to edit, I felt like I'm reliving every moment again. I still have PTSD, and that's from finding her
is
post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay.
Finding your child after an overdose. I have no words for it. You die inside, literally. I've felt the most excruciating pain I really don't think any human being deserves to feel.
Yeah.
Because of, the attempt to unalive, I would literally, it's like I would go through the funeral in my head
Yeah.
over and over. I've planned my child's funeral so many times. And you know what it's like grieving someone who's still alive? And not just someone, your own child.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, I could not fall apart because I still need to wake up and go to work.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I, as a coping mechanism, I would detach. It feels like there's two versions of me. There's Vule in corporate, and I'm a high achiever. I'm a perfectionist. I want to do it all. And I don't only want to do it, I want to do it so well.
Yeah.
And for me, anything less than 100% is a failure. Okay. That's a problem on its own that we'll talk about some other time. Now here I am. How do I tell my family that my child took an overdose of medication because she doesn't want to be alive?
Yeah.
How do I tell anyone? So for years I didn't tell anyone. So as a coping strategy, I would detach. There's the me who shows up out there when I leave my house. It's a bubbly, happy person. And that was important because if I did not do that,
Yeah.
I would have fallen apart. And we can't afford to fall apart. I'm a single parent.
Never.
We need the job to pay the bond and the car and the school fees. So
And
really falling apart is a luxury.
Medication and the
medication
that's helping to keep
we
the
need
child alive.
that. We need the medical aid.
Yeah.
So I would detach when I leave the house. I swear when I get inside my car, it's like, you know how Beyonce has Sasha Fierce?
Yes.
I had my own Sasha Fierce who needed to take over. And also very importantly, I did not want at work to be defined by what was happening in my personal life.
Yeah.
And that's why I kept it confidential.
Yeah.
Because there was a fear in me to say, what if there are opportunities for promotions and, people feel like, oh no, but she's going through so much, we don't think she'll handle it.
Yeah.
So, I kept it to myself and showed up and made sure I still was performing at 100 plus.
The perfection.
The perfectionist. But you know what it did? Every time when I came home, when I parked the car in the driveway, I needed time before I went inside the house.
Yeah.
I would sit in the car. Sometimes it felt like for an hour, if not hours, just to prepare myself to go inside the house. And when I opened the door, all I needed to do was to look at her to know where are we today on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And for 4.5 years, it was, way in the dungeon.
Yes.
That ate me. When I say it, like literally, I had 4.5 years later when now she's responsive to medication and I can see, there's positive, I mean, even his skin tone, she's.
Yeah.
I had a nervous breakdown. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh my God.
I didn't have it when things were like really bad.
Yes, yes.
I think, and now I understand why they say women have superpowers. There could be a car accident. If it crushed a child, the woman will move the car. Yeah. Now I believe it.
Yeah.
Because once everything, when I thought, okay, now I can breathe. Because for years I could not breathe.
Yeah.
Okay, I was working around on 3 hours sleep. And I didn't want to fall asleep because I was afraid if I fall asleep, What if something happens?
Yeah.
I hated waking up in the morning because I don't know if she's okay. I didn't want to open the door to a bedroom because I was
my
afraid of what I might
God.
find. And that was my life every single day.
For 4.5 years.
So when now it looked like, whew, there's some light, I started having chest pains. Oh, no, before the chest pains, I'll just start crying for no reason. When I'm driving to work or the parking lot in a shopping mall.
Yeah.
I start having like chest pains as if I'm having a heart attack and like some crazy, like unplanned mental breakdown. And it got so bad. During COVID, I had COVID in 2020. I had it 2021, but it was not bad. 2022, it was bad. I started having the cough, a persistent cough, not just any cough. It felt like I'm coughing my lungs out.
Oh.
And I mean, medical professionals could not explain it. I went for every test, gastroscopy, colonoscopy, ENT. Oh, I then lost my voice. When I say lost my voice completely,
Orally, like
for
you
about
couldn't
6
speak.
months, there was no sound coming out of my
Oh
mouth.
my God.
Zero sound. And I'm thinking, and I went to an ENT. We tried anything and everything, even speech therapy. They could not find out what was going on. And one day I'm having my chest, heart palpitations. I would not even describe it as heart palpitations. I thought I was having a heart attack. I could not breathe. And they keep saying, I mean, we phoned paramedics. They're like, breathe. I'm like, I can't. I'm trying to breathe. The oxygen is not going to my lungs, clearly. We found out I had pneumonia from in October, right? This was not even winter. I had pneumonia in October. I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm getting sick for no reason. Physically.
Yeah.
And it's true that trauma does manifest itself in your nervous system.
We did speak about
and
this.
I think for those years, I guess I just, I could not really fall apart, and I held it on for so long. And what broke the camel's back, because all this time I'm like, no, I'm good.
I'm
like,
fine.
no. And while this is happening, I'm killing it, girl.
You're getting
I'm
promotions, climbing up to the corporate ladder.
And then my girlfriends from work and I were planning to go to Cape Town, a girls' trip. We're all excited, and I realized I'm not excited about it. I should be excited about it, but I'm not excited about it. But I'm not telling anyone about it because this is so strange. And I was struggling to sleep at the time. I think I was not getting any sleep at all. I mean, for years, I'm on sleeping tablets because remember, I could not sleep. The only way for me to fall asleep is for a tablet to knock me out. Now, even the sleeping tablets are not working. So I've gone for like 3 months and I'm not getting any sleep. And instead of being excited 2 or 3 days before the Cape Town trip, started having the heart palpitations. And I realized that I'm actually not thinking of just going to Cape Town. I'm thinking I actually can't do this. I literally felt like I can't do the life business anymore. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, cannot do it. And I'm such a strong and positive person that I think what happened is the toxic positivity clearly worked for so long that I could not channel Sasha or whatever at this point. And I literally drove myself to the same hospital where my daughter gets admitted. I literally picked the car keys, got in the car, and I don't even know if I had my license, and just broke down when I got through reception. I said, I need help. I need help. I'm glad I did that, because that was the first time as a parent I actually admitted to myself that it has been hard. I never sought help throughout this period. I remember, there was a lady that someone referred to me who's a social worker. She helped me with breathing techniques, but girl, I was far gone. But I didn't realize I was far gone. So you talk about how did my mental health suffer? My mental health went to the dungeons.
Yeah.
But I was in denial because I'm a strong person, I'm a positive person, I'm a high achiever, I'm still performing, and therefore I'm okay.
And most importantly, you have this child that has
I
a
need to look after
real
her.
problem.
Yes,
A
I don't
real
have a
problem.
problem.
Your problem's not
Like, no.
Can't be.
Like, what do you mean I'm struggling with PTSD and depression?
Exactly.
No, I don't get depressed. Any person who knows me will tell you I am a very happy person.
Exactly.
So for me, that was like, oh.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell anyone that I was in hospital because of the shame. I didn't want, to be seen as weak. I didn't want to be seen as, oh my God, she had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
And I took the time to to have someone look after me, have learn the tools how to look after myself. And if there's one thing I can say to parents or caregivers,
Yeah.
don't gaslight yourself like I did. Please don't don't do that to yourself. When your loved one is going through what I've just shared, there's no way you're going to come out on the other side unscathed. There is no way. And admitting that my mental health is actually not okay right now. It's not a weakness. Had I admitted that to myself earlier on, I would have sought help for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't think things should have ended up
Yeah.
at the mental breakdown stage.
Yeah.
I think I could have handled it better.
Yeah.
But now I know better. And the reason I'm sharing, because I know that, for a lot of parents or a lot of adults, it's unheard of for us to actually talk about our own mental health.
Yeah.
But you know what has happened since I started talking about it?
Yeah.
Some of the most amazing people reach out to me and they're like, listen, I also had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
I'm a top person, I'm an executive, and yes, I went through it quietly. Only afterwards I shared with my family, to say, guys, remember when this and this was happening?
Yeah.
Actually, guys, I was going through depression.
Yeah.
So my advocacy is also to say that in corporate, please understand that when I show up, I can't leave what my daughter is going through at the door. I show up as a whole person.
Exactly.
And they should mental health and really just going through challenges in life as in life in general.
Yeah.
Yes, it should not be used as an excuse. And yes, sometimes you find people who are opportunistic, who will use it as an excuse.
Yeah.
But I also want to give you a different theory that sometimes people are going through things and you actually don't know. There's a day that I had to attend Exco. Fortunately, I was working from home.
Yeah.
She was throwing up from an overdose that she had taken the night before.
Oh.
And me being, and I hate this, the toxically overachiever that I am, I could have actually excused myself from that meeting.
Yeah.
But because I don't want to be seen as the person that doesn't show up,
Yeah.
I stayed in that meeting while she's throwing up.
Oh.
And once my session was over, I excused myself to go and attend to her.
Yeah.
But now in hindsight, I'm like, what the hell?
I'm thinking,
why did I do that?
To your own mental.
Like,
I'm not even thinking about for her. I'm thinking about for you. Okay.
So for me, there's something fundamentally wrong for me to actually believe that my worth in a job is more important than my child's life. And I'm saying this for the parents. If you are anyone like me,
I swear to God, this is important. I had a friend of mine who had a nervous breakdown in varsity because of the same thing.
If anything happened to my child, I would have gotten condolences and flowers.
Oh, Yep.
And if anything happened to me,
They would have sent
there would be flowers,
internal,
condolences, a few colleagues who come to my funeral
and then an
and
internal
say a word or
announcement.
two.
And then an internal announcement about the vacancy that's just opened up.
Yo, guys, if there's like, I cannot say this enough, and I'm not a crier. I'm emotionally unavailable to tears, but it really touches me to the core. I feel like I compromised my own health and my daughter's because I wanted to maintain a certain image
Yeah.
that I have built over time in corporate.
Yeah.
And it's not okay.
Yeah.
And please pay attention to the overachievers, because I think we always think someone who's struggling is someone who's, you can see because their work is shabby,
Yeah.
they show up late, they didn't show up in time. I'm that person, I was
You
here.
were here
No,
30 minutes
listen,
in
if you say the
advance,
meeting is at
honey,
10 o'clock,
giving
I
me
will be
anxiety,
there
stress.
9:30. If you want to offend me, arrive late.
Yeah.
Now, I was arriving early, not on time, early.
Yeah.
I was getting my job done, not only getting it done, because for me, less than 100% is not enough. And, even in corporate, you are going through, you are dealing. We are
I was
but
this
for me, and
from the stress.
this is where even my friends and family, they're like, how did you do it?
Yeah.
And I really want people to stop romanticizing the fact that I've gone through this and came out on the other side and didn't know, and I still did what I needed to do.
Looking this fabulous.
Because there's a cost. What was the cost of actually doing that? My nervous system, like to this day, I still struggle with, anxiety, and I have to watch out for, depression signs. I have to watch out, of not wanting to sleep longer than I need to sleep, and keeping myself busy. Because a lot of people ask me, but you do so many things. How do you do it? You have a lot of energy, etc. It's because for me the alternative is depression, and no, honey, we ain't going there.
Exactly.
We're not.
Yeah.
But I still want to address the fact that we need to be kinder to ourselves.
Yep.
We talk about, and let's not romanticize self-care and, sorry about the noise.
No, it's fine. It doesn't come to the
let's not, we romanticize self-care and having a balanced life, etc. There's no such a thing as balance. I think, if there is, good for you, God bless your soul. But for me, I think let's not romanticize resilience, because we talk about resilience like, oh my goodness, you're a strong woman, you're a strong black woman. I don't want to be strong. And that's the thing. Because now I find it difficult to cry. Because I have numbed myself through this process. My mom passed. I still don't know how. Literally, I have not cried. I have not grieved her passing. Because I stopped feeling. Because that was the only way to cope. I stopped acknowledging that I'm actually human. Instead, I describe myself as a mother. When you asked me earlier on to introduce myself, I'm Mashugu's mom, and that literally has become my entire life. And because of that, I guess like myself. When I'm not feeling okay, I move to toxic positivity and make sure that I feel okay. But what's wrong with me admitting that I'm not okay? And literally, that's what I now need to learn. I need to learn that it's okay to break down. It's okay to cry. It's okay to show weakness.
Exactly.
Because everyone's like, oh no, you're strong. No, I don't want to be strong.
No one wants to be strong.
I want someone to hug me and let me just cry on their shoulder.
Exactly.
And so
you did survive it, but it came at a cost, and you still dealing with the consequences of those costs.
I'm still paying the cost. I am.
I'm so proud of you, Queen, for writing this book. And I'm so proud of you for sharing this story with us. And I'm so proud that you've used your strength to soften a topic that a lot of us wouldn't be able to get to. So I appreciate that softness, and I appreciate you going on this journey and giving us this information, because one thing that God's going to do is make sure that our survival is everybody else's survival, which is what I think He is doing with your life right now. And I know your journey towards your own healing is only just starting now.
And thank you for that. I think for the few people who follow me on Facebook,
Yeah.
I keep posting, that heal loudly,
Yeah.
because we almost lost you.
Silently.
Silence.
Oh.
And for me, that's the reason I'm talking about this journey.
Yeah.
That's the reason I've had to be brave and say, if it changes your perception of me, if you will see me differently,
Yeah.
really that's on you. I'm just hoping that we don't have one more person suffering in silence.
Yeah.
I hope we can have more brave people
Yeah.
who actually come out and say, me too.
Yeah.
So in a way, when Mashudu and I put this out, we're starting our own Me Too movement.
Exactly.
To say, let's normalize talking about it, because we're suffering in silence.
Yeah.
And talking about it doesn't make you weak. And what is weakness and what is strength?
Exactly.
Let's redefine, the same way we talk about redefining masculinity.
Yeah.
Let's redefine strength and being strong and resilience. It's not the absence of pain and challenges.
Yeah.
It's how we show up while going through the pains.
Exactly.
It's allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and being there for each other, showing kindness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I have no more information to the people. I think you've said a lot of the things, and you've given us a lot of information. I don't know if there's any additional thing you want to say on your side. I think you've said a lot. Then where can we get these books so we can get them for our children and we can start giving them to parents? Because everybody who's taking care of another person needs to read these books.
You can email me for an order at info@vgdconsulting.co.za. I'll
Yeah.
share the details for you to put them up.
Yep.
You can also go on my website, www.vuledzani.com, and you can also place an order on my website. And yeah, so that's basically how you can place an order.
Okay. Thank you so much, Boo. We have no more information to give to the masses. Please comment, subscribe, tell your friends, and I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much, Bule, for coming here, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
God bless you.
For creating this platform.
God bless you.
You too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.